In today's world, entrepreneurship focuses on aspects related to problem solving and mitigation of issues. The approach of start small, think big has become the cornerstone of most businesses. Most young job seekers today, given the economic reality of our time, find that the job they thought would be waiting for them on the completion of their studies simply doesn't exist. Others have found out that they would rather create work they are passionate about rather than join an established company. Whatever the motivation, 3 young people we speak to on today's program show that it can be done. So what does it take to start that business and create jobs? Firstly, identifying the right business for you. Giving yourself permission to explore sounds easy, right? How did our entrepreneurs identify the right businesses for themselves? 3 pointers. Do what you know. Look at the work you have done in the past and think about how you could package those skills and offer them as your own service or product. Secondly, do what others do. You are not inventing the wheel. Learn from those already in that business. And thirdly, solve a common problem. What is the gap in the market you intend to fill? These are some of the steps taken by our young entrepreneurs in their own pursuit of happiness and, of course, prosperity. The 33-year-old Geraldine Matibula is no stranger to entrepreneurship. Based to the sounds of Patrick Mukwamba's hit song, Usambonyara Basarako, she says she was always destined to create employment.
All my life, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I remember when I was in college and people would be saying, no, I'm looking for attachment here, I'm looking for attachment here. I would be saying to people, I want to start my own business and I want to get attached at my own business. And even from primary school, I've always been wanting to start something. I always had a small business at college. I always used to be selling something. The college even recognized my passion and they offered me a tuck shop to run for about 2 semesters, that's about a year. So I must say that entrepreneurship has always been my blood because my grandmother is an entrepreneur, my mother is an entrepreneur. So actually getting a job was the mistake. So after I got fired, it got me back to realize, this is not where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to go there.
Geraldine is now creating jobs through a company, 143 Communications.
We are a corporate communications firm on the digital space. We mainly concentrate on social media, so social media management, advertising, PR, as well as social media marketing. My passion is to grow my business. What I realized very early in the business was that if I also get other clients that are also willing to grow their businesses and I help them grow their businesses through what I do, then it means that I also grow at a faster pace. So most of our clients, they're small to medium business enterprises. Most of my colleagues in my business, they are rushing for the big corporates who can give them a lot of money at one time. But our unique selling proposition is that we grow with small businesses. So you find that most of our clientele are very small to medium businesses, and most of them actually are getting bigger, and we're growing with them. As they are growing, then we're growing.
In spite of the economic challenges and naysayers, 143 Communications has grown to having 2 branches in the country and has plans to cross borders into Zambia.
We're facing the same challenges that everyone is facing. The challenge for the foreign currency, because part of our business entails that we have to be paying for advertising space from Facebook, Instagram, and other social media platforms. But however, like I told you before, as much as other people are crying, because of that we realized that let's go off. We're actually opening in Zambia in order to mitigate the foreign currency shortage that we're having. So instead of us sitting back and complaining, we sat down as a team and we said, okay, fine, what do we then do next for us to be able to mitigate this? We are now a team of 13, 2 branches, Harare and Bulawayo. I feel like I haven't yet done enough because as it stands, only 6% in Zimbabwe are formally employed. So it means that as business owners, we've got so much to do. It means that we've got so much growing to do so that we can also absorb all that, the 94% that's not employed.
143 Communications is helping combat one of Africa's largest challenges, ballooning unemployment. Constance Nyoni, an employee, absolutely believes in its capacity to improve lives.
143 Communications is a social media platform that is helping different companies reach their market. Traditionally, we've been used to newspapers, billboards, etc. However, a lot of people are going on the social media right now. It is a company that allows one to reach more targets than just on the newspaper. Like right now, a lot of people don't actually take out the dollar to buy a newspaper, but they would be on different social media platforms. So it's a way of a business getting more reach. Well, for these youths, social media can be used for a lot of different things, in which case we are using it to develop companies to help them grow bigger. So for these youths, there are some youths that have got different talents. Some are artistic, some are writers, and instead of using it for the wrong reasons like forwarding porn videos, they can become creative and actually write articles and get recognition on the social media.
1 out of 99 problem. I'ma hype it up for my progress. Never gonna stop, never resist. Turn them hitters is a damn work process. 1 out of 99 problems.
While Geraldine is making a mark in the corporate corridors, another young woman is taking her skills into farming sector. Ruramiso Mashumba is a farmer in Marondera.
My name is Ruramiso Mashumba. Welcome to Chomwezi Farm. I'm a farmer and the owner of this land. I've been farming for over 5 years now, and the reason I went into agriculture was more because of the passion of agriculture, the land, just the vast opportunities it has, and mainly the impact it would have on women farmers in the country. I really wanted to see other women rise up in their projects and be able to grow and feed themselves. So I'm very passionate about the social development end of farming, but as well as making sure that I have a viable project and that I'm able to contribute meaningfully to the food basket in Zimbabwe and also on the continent, because that is really something that I care a lot about. I went to school for it. So I did a diploma next door, the farm at Watershed College. Then I did an undergrad in the UK. After that, I came back to Zimbabwe to work. When I started smaller, much smaller than this. I was farming close to where I live because of availability of water and the resources I had. So that's how I started. And I started with very easier crops, like I was doing market gardening, vegetables, onions for high-end supermarkets. That's how I started. And then from then I grew as I networked and got more partners, and then I grew and increased the crops that I grew.
For Ruramiso, farming is not only about getting crops out of the ground and making money. It is also about taking care of the soil to preserve it for future generations and investing in the right equipment.
We have a crop rotation that we developed so that we make sure that we don't deplenish our soils. So we grow maize, it's a staple crop in Zimbabwe and we are always short of maize. So we grow maize for seed and for commercial purposes. We also do wheat and soya beans, so that's part of our crop rotation. We're also going into sweet potatoes and peas. So we have designed a crop rotation which allows us to make sure that we're always taking good care of our soils, because conserving the soil structure is very important, and also making sure that you don't deplete the nutrients, so that 100 years from now the soils will be fantastic as they are today. This is what you call a center pivot. It's a type of irrigation. It conserves water. So this one is a 10.5 hectare pivot, which means that it covers 10.5 hectares a cycle. So these that you see here are the sprinklers. They bring out water. It rotates round. So it does quite a lot of, it covers a lot of ground at one time. A lot of commercial farmers or people with big pieces of land prefer to use it because of the ability of irrigating in a big piece of land at a time. It's much better than linear pipes, because linear pipes you have to move them and a lot of water is wasted whilst you're moving the pipes. So if you travel, I've traveled to a few countries and to learn about agriculture. If you go to the US, they use these. Israel, they also use these. So a lot of commercial farmers would prefer to use this sort of system because it's very handy, and it will give you the moisture you would want for your crops. So that's the reason why we went into the big investment for this, because we realized that in order for us to be commercial and to grow, we need to invest in the best equipment. Valley, it comes from the US. It's a US brand, very good and efficient, and we're very happy with this infrastructure on our farm. This is one of our most valuable investments that we've made so far.
At Chomwezi Farm, they also believe in working with other partners and playing their part in uplifting the lives of those in the community they operate in.
Here is where we grade our seed maize. So every kernel has to be graded so that we make sure that when we deliver the seed to Seed Co, they just treat it and package it. And they also have to ensure that they get 100% germination. So we make sure that any rotten kernel is removed. And usually the kernels rot because of late rains. So if there's a little bit of late rains, some of the kernels rot. So when we are grading them, we have to make sure that there's no broken. There are no what the seed would look like in the packet, only that it will have some treatment on top. And it's a very strict procedure, so that's why they're grading one by one. So it's very labor intensive. So we mainly work with majority women because they're very good at picking and making sure that it's thorough. The people here have been working for a number of years on grading of the seed, and they understand the quality that's required by Seed Co. The seed inspectors also come and they also inspect and let us know in terms of purity how well we're doing with grading of the seed. So this is what happens here, and we take about 10 people a day to grade the seed. And we also just make sure that they're comfortable, and we provide for the meals throughout the day, the lunch and the breakfast and the lunch, so that they don't have to go back to their houses or carry food from their houses, and that they also eat fresh food. So those are some of the things that we do just to make sure that the working environment is comfortable for them. So we also help them by access to inputs, which is mainly the seeds, and also just the plowing of their land. We want to move into planting and spraying for outbreaks. So that's some of the things that we do, just working together as the community.
As the two young women take up the challenge of creating jobs and play their part in growing the economy, their advice to young people who want to go into business for themselves is just start. No one is promising it will be easy, but just start.
My advice would be start, because most of us, we get stuck at starting. We plan. For an example, I planned for years. I had papers in my desk at work, and I always used to say, I'm going to register a company. I'm going to register a company, and I always used to procrastinate. So my advice to you, and also, I was also waiting for the right opportunity. Say, when the right opportunity comes, I'll start. When the right opportunity comes, I'll start. So my advice to anyone that wants to start is to stop thinking about starting and actually start doing something, in spite of whatever economic conditions that we're in spite of whatever problems that we're currently facing as a country, and in spite of whatever challenges that other people tell them comes along with running a business. Just start and see for yourself, and you'll surprise yourself. Well, I certainly did.
Join us after the break as we shadow Prayer Mtamangira on his musical journey.
1 out of 99 problems. I'ma hype it up for my progress. Never gonna stop, never resist. Turn them haters into them work process. 1 out of 99 problems. 1 out of 99 problems. I'ma hype it up for my progress. Never gonna stop, never resist. Turn them haters into them work process. 1 out of 99 problems.
Prayer Mtamangira has made music the center of his universe. Plato says music gives a soul to the universe, wings to the wind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. And for Prayer, music is all that and more. Robert Tafumane caught up with him to chat about his passion and how he has turned it into a money-making venture.
You are a musician, and there are a lot of musicians in the country, and as young as you are, how can someone separate you from any other musician? How do you value yourself in Zimbabwe, in the music sector?
Well, I think it's really about sticking to the authenticity of what a person is. So I really just try and be true to what I love to do and what I feel I'm good at. And so I don't try to go with the flow or follow the trend of what seems to be successful. I just stick to what I'm good at. And I'm good at making soul music that is an African signature. And that's what I keep doing. And just try to grow as I do that.
And when did you start singing, let me say, commercially? Yeah.
Okay. I'd say it was right at the end of 2010. So professionally, I would say in 2011 was kind of when it really took off and I started singing professionally.
Yes, and for some it's not a profession, some it's might be a pastime.
Okay.
You know, and from you, I can see you have gone further than just being a musician. You also train other musicians. Just in brief about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that I'm a entrepreneur who's a musician. I'm very passionate about business and very passionate about converting ideas into actual viable businesses. And so over the years I've always been trying out different things that that I feel would make money. And being a musician has also then helped, or being in the entertainment space. So that's how I then started the pop-up music school, which is where we are today, which is basically where we teach people all things creative, and we try and expose them and try and pass on the skill.
For some, being a musician and being an entertainer, is it something that someone can do professionally and earn a living out of it?
Absolutely, it is definitely something that someone can do. It's just a matter of perspective, because if you have a product and it's good enough and it generates enough value, then it's always money is going to follow it. So you'll find that in Zimbabwe we have comedians, and these people are professional comedians. They'll find different expressions, they'll do a comedy show, and then they'll also MC some events, and they'll go on tour, they'll go to other places, other parts of the country or other countries, and still do what they do and actually make money from it. It's really just how you approach it and how you generate the value in such a way that it can be commercially viable.
And looking at the Zimbabwe situation economically now, what challenges are you facing as an entrepreneur and as a musician?
Well, I mean, currently it would definitely be like the pricing, like everybody else, where people are using different currencies, and so it then sort of becomes tricky to always be pushing your prices and things like that. So those are some of the challenges and there are a lot of people who would rather hold on to their money until they feel like, maybe I can invest in something like this later. So a lot of sponsorship, I feel, would definitely be happening if the economy was a bit more stable. But even now, I mean, we still have like a lot of partnerships a lot of partners that we work with. So it's really a 50-50. There are definitely some challenges, but there are also some upsides to it.
And given a chance, if you are to address about 100 musicians or 1,000, what advice would you give them?
Well, I would say, try and think more like a business person than a creative one, because most creative people just really want to focus on creating because that's what they're good at. But it is advisable to either start thinking like a business person, or engage someone who thinks like a business person to represent you, so that they help you grow your business. Because if you're doing anything that is of value, that can be paid for or that can be bought, then it means that you actually are running a business. So the moment we start looking at things like that, then it will definitely help us grow our brands in such a way that we can expand into other spheres. Like, for example, I'm doing the music school, I also do events, I also do a bit of marketing. So that is an example of being able to understand that, okay, I'm leveraging what I have. And if you're in the entertainment circles, you're someone that people know, you're a public face, so people easily trust you, so you can easily then grow your brand into other things other than just the music.
And as an entrepreneur, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, I'm hoping that I would have built a couple of businesses that would benefit a lot of people, and also that I would have grown in terms of just business experience. I feel like I've had a good journey, but I'd like to learn more and grow more and do stuff that's more useful for the country. Like, be able to do something that I love to do, but have it also benefit a lot of other people who can then learn from me and also grow in their own right.
There are other people that may be watching right now.
Yeah.
Either there are people that also want to learn about music, instruments and vocals.
Yes.
Is what you are doing right now. Where can they find Prayasol?
Right, if you are interested in learning how to play instruments, or you want to learn how to just further your gifting, if it's musical, if it's voice or drums, bass, guitar, lead, acoustic piano, whatever it might be, you can get in touch with us via our Facebook page, which is Pop-Up Music Class on Facebook, and you'll be able to get someone to call you back, and then we can book you and you can start right away.
Music, there are a lot of instruments. My last question.
Yeah.
Which instruments are you teaching the students?
Well, I primarily teach guitar. I also teach a bit of performance, because those are like my forte when it comes to music. But I also then employ people part-time who come in and teach what they're specifically great at. So we've got someone who comes in and they can do drums. We've got someone who also does guitar and piano. And you've also seen Rumbi, who also does voice. So we then outsource for the rest, but for guitar and for voice, it's myself and Ruby are the ones who teach that.
As Zimbabwe seeks to shift from a managed economy to an entrepreneurial one, it is imperative that more and more young people get the encouragement and resources to follow their dreams. Entrepreneurship can be the answer to economic transformation, empowerment, and poverty alleviation, especially in developing countries such as Zimbabwe. And while the government is looking for ways to create a more enabling environment for these entrepreneurs, some like Geraldine, Ramiso, and Prayer are already doing their bit in contributing to the economy and creating jobs.
I'ma hype it up for my progress. Never gonna stop, never resist. Telling them haters is a damn boring process. 1 out of 99 problem. I'ma hype it up for my progress. Never gonna stop, never resist. Telling them haters is a damn boring process. 1 out of 99 problem.
So I don't want it everyone for live long time. I pray that all my demons don't come back knocking for me at the wrong time. On my knees saying, Mama, won't you pray for me? Cause I know that you're the one that's down for me, Mama. You gon' love me long time. I'ma step up onto my grind.
I'ma hype it up for my progress.